Good day, my beautiful people. I hope we are all well. Today we are going to be looking at things that have to do with the Igbo way of life. You know, there is a saying that if you want to understand the present, you have to go back to the past. You have to go back and check how we were living as a people in the past. It is important to note some of our ways of life because it helps us to understand who we are better. You see, and so today we'll be going into a material that was written sometime almost 200 years ago. Most of the observations were from the 1840s, 1850s, and so we are going to be looking at aspects of our way of life back then because these are important even in today's world. Now we're going to be looking into three aspects of our life back then, but the first one we are going to be looking into is titled among the Igbo people that you call Odogwu, what you call Odogwu today. The title you call Odogwu today used to be Odogwu. Odogwu, that is somebody that leads a battle. Odogwu, a captain, a commander. That is what the word, that is the root of the word, Odogwu. But you know, quick pronunciation and a bit of alteration with time turned it to Odogwu. Today you call it Odogwu. It's actually Odogwu, a leader of war, a commander, a captain. You see, and so it used to be a title. It's not just a name you call anybody in Igbo land back then. It used to be a title that you actually attain, but actually you attain it by, you know, having to be a top man or general or chief or even king of another community, and then they give you the title Odogwu, and today it is now known as Odogwu. You see, and so this is the history of the title you call Odogwu today. It used to be a title that is only given by recognition in the community, Odogwu, and today you call it Odogwu. Yes, the next record we have here is one record that has to do with how we mourn our loved ones. Now, this is something that was very common among the Igbo people, but today, most Igbos of this generation do not even know exactly how we mourned people back in the olden days. You see, all we know today is that when someone dies, you shave the hair, and then they have to be away from work and any other house chores for a number of months. But that is not exactly how we used to mourn people back in those days. We used to mourn people in a totally different way that you do not understand or you might not expect. Let us read the material first. It says here, on the 24th of December, I kept at home. This was taken down in the 1850s. Now, I saw 12 women who were widows passing down to the river, and curiosity led me to follow them to see what the custom was all about. Now, a little girl went before them and was the conductor of these 12 women. All of them had their heads shaved, and they walked down to the river, dipped their feet in the water, and then, having placed their right hands in their jaws, they returned and sat in the marketplace and wept. Now, the clothes they put on during their mourning, the clothes consisted of a piece of old clothes dried in the smoke with white bands round the waist, with white bands tied round the waist. Their term of mourning was from 10 to 12 months. That is 10 months to a year of mourning. And during this time, they are to lie down in ashes. During the time of mourning, 10 months to 12 months, they are to lie down in ashes. This was a record taken among Igbo people in the 1850s. It also continues here. It says, I called upon one of the women who lost her daughter yesterday. Poor creature, as their custom is to lie down in ashes, it is so that I found her from head to feet, and all over her body she was covered with ashes. This is the custom of the Igbo people in 1850s. We do not practice this anymore, and because we do not practice this anymore, it makes a lot of the current generation, they do not know that this is actually how the Igbo people mourned our loved ones back in the olden days. This is talking about something of about 150 to 170 years ago. A loved one, when you are mourning a loved one, you lie down in ashes and wear sackcloth. What was described here is sackcloth, a piece of clothing dried in the smoke with white bands tied around the waist. This is sackcloth. How we mourn our people back in the days, almost 200 years ago and earlier, was to wear sackcloth. Also, you pour sand on your head or dust. That is how we mourn our loved ones back in the days. Now, when I showed this to people, they were very surprised. They said they have never heard of this before among the Igbo people. Only few people know of this. We had to go through Lamentations, the book of Lamentations, and it says, the elders of the daughter of Zion sit on the ground and they are silent. They have thrown dust on their head and they have girded themselves with sackcloth. Can you see the explanation is exactly as what you say among the Igbo people 150 years ago. And this is directly from the Bible. It's also stated here in the book of Esther. These are records of the Hebrew people mourning in the Bible. Just two is okay. Now this one says, in each and every province where the command and decree of the king came or was heard, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, wailing, and many lay on sackcloth and in ashes. And so many of the current generation did not know this, and so I shared it with them, and they were very surprised. They were very shocked. They said they didn't know that this is how our people used to mourn our loved ones back in the day. So this is just another aspect of the Igbo way of life that you might not recognize anymore. Now the third one, which is going to be the final one for this video, rule of engagement. What we call rule of engagement in today's world. Rule of engagement has to do with how people who are at war, how they treat each other. When we went back to history to read about the Igbo history, we realized that Igbo people already had a rule of engagement almost 200 years ago, which they respect, you see. And so it is written here that there is a peculiar law among the Igbos that when the inhabitants of one town are at war with the other, and one part of the town will not join in the war, then what it means is that they can, without harm or molestation, visit their relatives in the town that is at war with them. Also, it is stated here that strangers living around those two communities that are fighting, strangers, total strangers, can visit the two towns that are at war if they choose, and nobody will harm them. Be they man, woman, or child, nobody will harm you. Even if you're a stranger and you visit those two communities that are fighting, the idea is that you are not part of the fight. And this was what Igbo people developed from 200 years back. This is an understanding they developed from 200 years back. They developed rules of engagement. Their idea was that you are not part of this war, and so as you are a stranger, you are free to visit our community despite the fact we are at war, and nobody will harm you. This is what is called respect for the sanctity of life. It was peculiar to have this advancement in understanding 200 years ago, because other tribes, once you are not part of their tribe and you step feet into their domain when they are at war, you are as good as they don't want to know whether you are in support or you are not in support. They will just take you and you immediately. Their rule of engagement was so advanced that even if two towns are fighting and one part of town a part of town A is not in support of that fight, that particular part of town A can go and visit the second town fighting with them, which is town B. They can visit anytime they want. They can go there to do business, go there to visit friends or even some family members, and nobody will harm them. Because the idea of the Igbo people is that life is precious. Don't just because they are from the other town. And so that is how we'll be rounding up these particular videos. There's still more that will be coming from other videos. I believe within the next day or two, I should be able to put another video on some other topics that are of importance as usual. And so I'll be seeing you there on the next topic and on the next video. Thank you very much.